I was reading a definition for the word type, and it said a thing or person who represents perfectly or the best category, class, or model. And it led me to think about whenever people are referring to someone of interest, they usually will say, that's my type, or he's my type, or she's my type. But they don't always necessarily explain to you what they mean by, quote, my type. But they know what they mean. And I'm thinking that definition makes sense why people usually like to quote that a person is their type. And it made me want to do a video message about being a same-sex attracted person, and if we usually have a type of person who we are interested in. And the obvious answer would be yes, because we are gay or lesbian or same-sex attracted people. So we do have a type. And a type does fall in a category. So being a homosexual or same-sex attracted person is a type or category of a person or a group of people. But more specifically, I kind of want to discuss being a lesbian and do lesbians have a type? And that's why I titled the video, Do Lesbians Have a Type? I am Giselle Wallace, lesbian life coach and author. Here on my YouTube channel, I provide my lesbian perspective. And if that interests you, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Some people almost seem to take an offense when people say that they have a type. And I never quite understood why people would be offended or would feel as if they were excluded whenever a person mentioned that they have a type, because everybody has a type to a certain degree. When you refer to the definition that I mentioned, and you can actually look up the definition yourself and see if it relates to you. But I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with having a type, because I really believe that attraction is organic. I don't think attraction is something that is forced, or I don't even believe that someone from the outside can change who you're interested in or who you're attracted to. I think it all originates with the individual person. Now, realistically, I do believe that people can be influenced by outside forces about what or who they should be attracted to. For example, like materialistic things, like maybe clothes, cars, maybe even the type of work that you do, and on down to the type of people who you associate with, or even date and marry. I do think that you can be influenced by outside forces such as the media, because the media has always been huge in influencing societies about what products to buy. And, basically it teaches you what to like and what not to like, but it's kind of like a covert way of doing it. So you do kind of want to be careful about the images in the media, whatever it is that you're focused on, if it's even social media, entertainment, whatever category that is outside of you. You do kind of want to be mindful of what you're tuned into, because it can influence you to a certain extent. And you want to just kind of contemplate, is this really what I like, or is this really what I should be paying attention to? Why or why not? Because if you're not careful, then you'll start following the crowd in a sense, and you'll allow other people to dictate what you do and who you like or who you're going to be with. And this is actually a really big deal. And being a lesbian or a gay person or bisexual, or if you identify within the LGBTQIA plus acronym, because we are often marginalized in a heteronormative society, we can be pressured to conform to being like a heterosexual person. In other words, you can, feel obligated, or you may even feel pressure to act like you're heterosexual, look like you're heterosexual, behave like you're heterosexual, or even think you can change into being a heterosexual. So I don't believe that people can change their sexual orientation. And I don't believe people can change who they're organically attracted to. But to a certain degree, you can be influenced by outside forces, whoever that is, people, media. And it can cause you to alter the way you really believe and feel and behave to fit in. But that does not mean that's your true essence. That doesn't mean that this is who you really are or who you really like. And so when it comes down to having a type, I think that the only way that you know that you have a type is when you are presented with whoever it is that attracts you. And I used to hear people say, this is what you need to have in order to be attractive to me. They would maybe have a list, and they would put down different physical characteristics, personality traits of a person that they said was either required or a priority for them in order for them to even consider liking someone or dating someone. And all right, so if you do that, there's not necessarily an issue with you having a list. But if the list that you have created has not come to fruition, meaning you're not really actually meeting this kind of person, or you're not officially in a relationship with a person according to your list, and you are kind of scratching your temple and wondering, well, when is she gonna come along? When is he gonna come along? But they never do. Then you might need to go back to the drawing board, because you may be wasting your time. And I'm actually a certified life coach, and I coach on various areas. But people who are same-sex attracted people, they don't really have anyone who they can go to discuss love and relationships on a more personal, deeper level, because most people identify as heterosexual, and then they can't really relate to being gay or lesbian or even bisexual, so they don't always know the best advice to give you. And then there's another layer to it. If you're dealing with someone who is bigoted or homophobic, you can't even have that conversation with them about dating advice or relationship advice. Now, that's just one area that I do coach in, but I coach in dysfunctional family. I also coach in comped. If you're dealing with a family that is not accepting or welcoming of you as a lesbian, gay, bisexual, or LGBTQIA plus person, I help you be able to navigate through life in order for you to live in your authenticity. And I believe it's important to provide a safe space for us, because we have a life that we have to live. And in order for us to be able to become our best self, we have to know ourselves. And as a life coach, I always think it's imperative for you to know yourself and really be honest with who you are as a person. And people are usually very quick to make a list about another person who they want to be with. And that's fine if you want to do that. But I think it's more important for you to make a list about yourself. And that is actually one of the activities that I will assign to clients when it comes to them trying to navigate the dating space as a same-sex attracted person. You want to look at yourself first, make a list about yourself. Do you like certain qualities about you? What is it that you believe that you can improve on? What do you think are your best qualities? Make an accurate list about yourself first, instead of writing about someone else who you don't even know yet, or you don't even know if this person actually exists. But you know that you exist. So numero uno, start with yourself. So you heard that here with me, Giselle Wallace. That is one of my assignments as a life coach, is make a list about yourself. And that way you can be your best person. And that will help you better to meet someone who is your type. Because it's like you're working in reverse when you write a list about a whole nother person who doesn't even know you. You don't know this person, but you have this list. It's almost like an imaginary list because you don't really know if this list is going to come to fruition. But with yourself, you always can work on yourself. So create a list, and I am a life coach. You can contact me for one-on-one life coaching. If you have your own situation that you need some guidance or some tips on, I can speak to you directly and help you in your unique situation, because this video message is kind of like a general application to all who are listening. But sometimes you need a deeper dive, and that's why you would need to sign up for life coaching. And I can be contacted. My website is www.gisellewallace.com. And my contact information is here on YouTube on the homepage, as well as in the description box below this video. And I stress it's important that you make a list for yourself. Reflect on yourself first, because then you can make a more accurate decision on who is your type. Because if you know yourself, then you'll be able to see more clearly the type of person that is a best suitable match for you. But most people work in the reverse, and they only do half the job. They have a list about this ideal person that's their type, and they've made this long list, but they don't have a list about themselves. That's why I say that's coming from me directly. You heard that here from myself directly. If you hear from somebody else, they just heard it here, because people never think about who they are. They focus on someone else, and that's an issue. It's an issue because you're not able to control a person on the outside. And how do you know if you have a type? Because if you have this hypothetical list with all of these qualities and these traits, where did this come from? And you also want to consider who influenced you to think about this type of person. Meaning, maybe someone at school from, when you were in grade school, because, from your childhood, that's where things begin. And it can stay with you on up until you're an adult. It's like, was somebody teasing you about who you were attracted to organically? And because they made you feel bad about being attracted to a certain person, then you scratched that person off the list. And now you created this new list of who all of your buddies, your peers, considered to be attractive. For example, you actually genuinely liked, as a lesbian, you actually genuinely liked a girl who was very sophisticated. She stayed to herself. She was smart. She didn't get in any trouble. But then the little girls in the class were teasing you, saying, "Oh, why are you talking to a girl? That's gay. Oh, you're a lesbo. And she's a nerd. Why do you like a nerd?" And so you got teased about who you really genuinely liked. And there was absolutely nothing wrong with you being attracted to a young girl because you were a young girl. And then there was nothing wrong with the fact that the young girl was smart and that she stayed out of trouble. But because you were so young and impressionable and you wanted to fit in with the other girls at school, you started listening and watching who they were attracted to. And they were looking at the boys who were older, like you was in middle school. They're looking at the boys in high school and college, and they're athletes, they're jocks. And you're like, well, I don't know. I don't think he's attractive. And you're not quite understanding why you're liking this beautiful girl over here, but all the other girls are liking boys. Well, it's because you're a lesbian and you're around girls who are not lesbian. They're heterosexual. So now you are feeling like you're out of place, like something's wrong with you. So now you're pretending like you're heterosexual now, even though you know you are attracted to girls. And then you start going for the bad boy type. He's dropped out of school or he's always skipping class. He's disrespectful to the teacher. And all the girls are just fawning over him. And then you're like, okay, well, I remember how they were telling me that's a nerd and I shouldn't like nerds. So now you're going for a person who is very disrespectful, someone who doesn't believe in making an honest living. So they're robbing and stealing and living a very wild life. So you're now taking on a persona that is not you, and you're actually dating guys who you're not even authentically attracted to, and they're bad boys because from the early stages of when you were in middle school, you were actually kind of teased and bullied into who you should be attracted to. And now you're this grown woman and you're still acting like you're attracted to guys, bad boys, when you are not. This actually happens. And people say this is my type. But is it really your type? You have to get real with yourself. So people are influenced by other people. But as I mentioned, I do not believe who you authentically, innately are can be changed. You're always going to be who you are, and you're always going to be attracted to who you are attracted to without the influence of someone else. You just have to get real with yourself. So if somebody, has an issue with who you're attracted to, well, there are reasons for having an issue with it can vary, but I've already mentioned some. They may be homophobic. They may be someone who is not attracted to the same type of person you're attracted to. And that's another area you need to really consider. Some people think that everybody should be attracted to the same type of person, which is not true. we are all different. And just because you see a group of people who seem to always be attracted to the same type of person, or you see people always with the same type of person, if you're a people watcher and you see couples together, you kind of, pay attention to what they look like physically. And if you're in a position where you can kind of communicate with them and get to know them better, you kind of listen to what the couple has in common. And it kind of helps you decide, oh, that's why they like each other. Or sometimes you may say, I don't understand why they are even together, because they don't have or seem to have anything in common. So, it's good to be observant. That's great. It's all good. But keep in mind that you're not that person on the outside that you're observing. So you really cannot determine who's a good fit for them or who's a bad fit, because that person has to make that decision for themselves, and only they truly know who is their type. But you could just kind of vicariously learn by observing other people to decide who is your type of person, because you want to do this by truly considering the features and the qualities and the traits of this person that you believe are good qualities or good characteristics. And you're doing this for yourself. You're not doing it to impress someone else, because many people are only interested in another person because they believe this will impress their family or their friends or even their work colleagues. So they'll choose someone not necessarily because that's their type of person, but they believe that this is the type of person that other people will approve of. So you don't want to make that mistake either. And so you may say, okay, well, how do I know who's my type? Well, being attracted to someone is not something that has to be taught to you. And I coach about this quite a bit, because I identify as a lesbian. And when you are a lesbian, gay, bisexual, or you are in the LGBTQIA plus acronym, if you're not careful, people will try to convince you that if you're attracted to the same sex, that means something changed you. And usually it's something that was negative, or you experienced some type of hardship or trauma in your life that caused you to change from your natural attraction for the opposite sex. And now you are suddenly attracted to the same sex. So there's a lot of talk about people being able to change their sexual orientation. And the actual term for that is called conversion therapy. Some referred as gay conversion therapy or reparative therapy. And this is actually a therapy that is legal in the United States of America, in many parts of the world. And it simply means that there are licensed therapists, counselors who are able to practice techniques to alter your sexual orientation or your gender identity. And the specific goal is to change your sexual orientation from homosexual to heterosexual. Or when it's regarding gender identity, they do not believe that you can alter your gender identity from what you were assigned at birth. Meaning, whatever sex you were assigned at birth, they believe that is what your sex and gender will always be. So if you are someone who is trans, they don't support trans people. So they have conversion therapy for gender identity as well. And so I do not advise, condone, or advocate for conversion therapy at all. I actually have gone through conversion therapy, and I discuss my experience in my book titled She a Lesbian? Finding My Identity in Genesis. You can order my book on Amazon.com. I go into detail about my experience as a lesbian going through conversion therapy, and I absolutely am against conversion therapy. But to just basically refer back to the topic at hand, because we are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or trans, LGBTQIA plus people, we live in a society which is always trying to change us. They believe that being same-sex attracted is wrong, or being trans is wrong. And so you constantly need to focus on self-care and being yourself. And it actually causes a lot of issues with us as LGBTQIA plus people in how we date and how we choose a person who we want to date, and also how it affects who we are genuinely attracted to. So you may be struggling with who really is your type. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having a type. But because we have all of these negative voices trying to tell us who we are and who we aren't, it can be a little bit more daunting for us to figure out who really is my type. And then you have people who do what they call matchmaking, like they're matchmakers in the dating field. Usually you hear about heterosexual people doing matchmaking, and you heard it here first, I believe that being a lesbian or a same-sex attracted person, we are not able to abide by the same rules and guidelines of heterosexual people, because heterosexual people, they have different requirements in their relationships that same-sex attracted people do not have to abide by. And as a same-sex attracted person, we have more creativity and openness on who we're attracted to. And we have such a variety in expansion in who we're attracted to. Like, you can be attracted to a woman who comes in many forms. She can be femme, she can be tomboyish, she could be a STEM, a stud, butch. It's just so many variations. And I don't follow like heterosexual guidelines and rules when it comes to relationships for same-sex attracted people. And this is because I believe as same-sex attracted people, we're equals. So you're a female who is attracted to females, or you're a male who's attracted to males. And there's no way that I can compare and contrast our relationship dynamics in the same category as heterosexual relationship dynamics. And that's what I mean. So I don't basically give guidelines or rules about dating and relationships that are given to heterosexual people. I don't give that same type of relationship advice to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and LGBTQIA plus people, because we are different. And you may have a different type of person you're attracted to, but yet everybody on the outside is telling you that's not who you're supposed to be attracted to. But you know who you're attracted to. And if you are having issues with trying to understand who is the best suitable match for you, well, you may need a little bit of help, and you don't need it from someone who's trying to discourage you or change you or dissuade you from who you really are attracted to. And that's unfortunately what happens to us by not only heterosexual people, but even same-sex attracted people, because they've been distorted in their thinking because they have been taught how they should think as a heterosexual person. So you have to consider all of this. And I'm a life coach. If you need to sign up for life coaching, I'm here for you. I'll be glad to help you if you need help navigating who is your type, who is a best suitable match for you, because I believe that's an essential life coach service. So that is one aspect that I provide, and it's going to help with starting that list about yourself. So be prepared to do that when you sign up for life coaching with me. And to answer the question, do lesbians have a type? Yes, we absolutely do. I have a type. And if you need help understanding who is your type, I think that that's a very good question to ask and to be answered. I hope this message resonates with you. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am Giselle Wallace. Thank you for listening.